Hello, Smite fans, and welcome back to the Smite Challenger Circuit on this lovely Thursday afternoon. We're going to be kicking it back with the EU SCC for one more set. Our first one is done, but before we get into that, just a little bit of a shout out promo to our store out there at shop.hi-rez It's your last chance to get some of these great items in that store. So if you haven't bought some of the cool merch, the t-shirts, the hats, or even those figurines, you don't have much time left before those items will not be available again. So make sure to go to shop.hi-rez for your last chance to purchase some of those great items out there. There's a ton of great shirts, a ton of great hats. I think we have one with like most of the, I can't say all the Pantheons because we've added so many of them, but most of the great Pantheons and all that kind of stuff out there could be yours. EU SCC round 2 now. It's J-Mac and Trelly joining me on the desk for this one. We got to watch over 3 hours, and that's including the death segments, 3 hours of EU SCC, and we still have even more to go. We're going to have the Highland Ravens and the Aaru Scorpions for our second of those matchups. And we got a new addition, at least a big addition over to the Highland Ravens roster, Trelly. Adapting is back.
The king is back. He's back to reclaim his throne, if you will. It's been so long since we've get to watch Adapting play, and I'm so excited. I could not be more excited.
Yeah, the king is back for the Highland Ravens. Star payover for the Scorpions. That'll be our second of the EU SCC matchups. And then, as you can see, on the 25th, 2 days from now, we'll have the third and final of the EU SCC matches. That'll be against Hex Mambo and Styx Ferryman. And with this, the Aaru Scorpions, they were a team that was the 6th seed going into the last phase, and the Highland Ravens were kind of sitting right at that top of the pack. Now, we have a 2-0 Aaru Scorpions and a 1-1 Highland Ravens that are going to be duking it out with each other. But maybe with some of the roster change-ups that the Highland Ravens have made for themselves, again, notably adapting now, rejoining this team, but rejoining into the SCC as a whole and joining this Highland Ravens roster could be a huge boon for this team, Charlie.
Yeah, I would say
Should be.
And anytime you see Adapting coming back to competitive Smite, it's got to bring some excitement to your day. You know, has he been keeping up with the meta? Has he been watching closely, seeing what? Because we know he's been playing, he's been streaming, that sort of thing. But I'm curious to see how he's been adapting to the current meta. It's an interesting one, I would say.
Well, with some new roster adjustments, we did get a chance to sit down with the Highland Ravens and talk to them. So we got a pregame interview ready for those guys.
And I'm back. It's me, basically the interviewer, SCC extraordinaire. I know everything, and I'm going to get everything out of my interviewee today here, Angry, the mid laner for the Highland Ravens. How you doing today, big guy?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited for this interview.
I'm glad. Lots of people coming out for these interviews. If you're an SCC player and you want to get interviewed, let me know. I'll interview you. Anyway, we have some questions to get through for you, Angry. And the first one is going to be kind of going into the past a little bit. Not too long ago, you were playing for the Niflheim Wargs. Now you're on the Highland Ravens. What's been like the big difference for you between these two teams?
I mean, there's a lot of different things. I mean, I used to play like completely 4 different players. I'm playing with Kona now. We both moved. The whole team environment is different. I mean, there's more hunger. The desire to win is different. The practice is different. Everything's just different, honestly.
And you like it more here on the Ravens than you do the Wargs. No shots fired, but that's just how
Of course,
it is.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I chose the team because I just thought I had a higher chance of winning with them, and honestly, so far so good.
Well, we'll see how well you do today. One more question, kind of about the current environment. You're playing with Adapting. That means a lot to the NA players that don't see too much into the EU scene. But what has he brought, or what does he bring, kind of to your team here on the Ravens that you haven't even touched before? Something that he can uniquely provide for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, Kenneth's a great teammate. He's very confident. He's very smart about the game. He can bring like those macro shot calls, and basically that's it. Like just confident, and like the way he plays the map, it's really good.
That's great to hear. It really shows off in his play. I'm glad we get to see him back in the fray once again. And that kind of goes more into my next question, which is getting into how you've learned as a player. I want to know who's been the person you've teamed with that's kind of taught you the most or developed you the most.
I mean, I've played the most, I think, with Spodio, my ex-teammate in Works. I think we've been together for like 3 years. I've learned how to be like a better person, a better teammate with him, like how to like communicate with my teammates and all of that. I think if it's one person, I think it has to be him.
It's great to hear. And love love Spodio because I know he's been around the scene for quite some time. You guys were great together on the Wargs. But that'll bring me into my final question here. And it's leaning into the EU side of things. It's which EU player does the NA side of the SCC of the SPL need to look out for? Who's that underground gem that you guys are just hiding over there that you're ready to just unleash when it's time?
Honestly, has to be Coast, my teammate. He's a big reason why I joined this team, and I think he has a lot to prove.
Well, we'll see exactly what he's here to prove tonight against the Scorpions. Good luck in your game. We'll see you, well, when we see you. And other than that, that's the end of the interview. Desk, take it away.
Thank you so much, Billy and Angry, for the pre-game interview there. And I really do think it's interesting that Angry thinks that Coast is that underground sleeper player on the team that NA has to watch out for. Because if anything, I think a lot of the NA ADCs, the SPL ADCs, they know a lot about this player. But it's always good to talk to some of these SCC guys and kind of pick their brains at it. And on the opposite side for the Highland Ravens, they're going up against the currently undefeated Aaru Scorpions, 2-0, a team that has made a massive resurgence with some of their roster changes from Phase 1 now into Phase 2. Panvich, Sarpei, Picarino, Preds, and iDavy rounding out this roster. And Preds and Sarpei have been two players that have kind of really stuck out to me on this team. They've really been able to make some strong waves for the teams that they have played on up to this point.
Yeah, can I just say that the fact that Coast is the underground, like this.
What's it say about the rest of the team?
Sleeper fragger on this team, and he also had the L profile picture, so no one knows him. But everyone hypes up Coast, so that's an interesting take from Angry there. But yeah, I think you are right. The Aaru Scorpions was a team. They did go through a few different roster changes here from Phase 1 to Phase 2, so that could be a reason for their newfound success. But also, I think they've just been really falling into their own little style here. They haven't been trying to adhere to what everyone else is doing. They're sort of just playing their own game, and I think you're right to highlight those players.
Yeah, the Aaru Scorpions are definitely a team that need to be looked out for now. I mean, back in Phase number 1, they were a bit of a rough patch, but now a new strong team and a new strong group of players, and we get to sit down and talk with one of those players for one more pregame interview. We'll throw it right over to them.
All right, hello, welcome back. I'm basically Billy, interviewer extraordinaire, #1 interviewer in the North American scene, and I am joined today by an EU friend, Preds, joining me once again here from the Aaru Scorpions before his match of the Highland Ravens. How are you feeling today, Preds?
Feeling pretty good going into this set. It's a very big one.
You expressed some confidence last week during our interview. I kind of want to see, how do you think that's developed between this last bit of practice that you've had with your team going into this match?
Well, scrims have been scrims, scrimming the so-called bad teams has been pretty hard, but I think on game day, we're going to bring everything we've got to this one.
Sounds like a plan. And today, you're going against the Ravens. You're facing some familiar friends. Angry and Kana are on the opposite side of the field today. You said yesterday, not yesterday, last week, that it was kind of the match to prove for yourself. What's the mental, at least specifically for this match, for these fellow wargs that you had in the past on your side?
Well, there's a lot of beef, let's say, between the two teams, because now that we're on this set coming up, not only are we going to be playing against Adaptin, their new pickup, we'll also be playing with Sarpei, another Wargs member. So 2 Wargs v 2 Wargs. We'll really see. We'll see who comes up on top.
Hey, it's warg on warg action. A little bit dismembered from Masters. However, you talked about these changes from these rosters and adapting. It makes his return to the Highland Ravens. Going into this match, what's it feel like having to prepare for someone so kind of esteemed in the league for this?
Well, yeah, of course he's a big name, and I played against him a lot last year as well, and let's just hope he's a bit rusty. Let's hope he hasn't been playing Smite that much, and let's hope we can get the win.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes down. And one last, a bit of a lighter question for you. I want to know. I remember you back, and you do not need to humor me at all with this memory. But back when you played on the rival Xbox team, I faced you in this community tournament, and we beat you guys because you were on 500 ping, and I was super happy. However, I want to know what your favorite memory from one of your first teams out on Xbox was, if you have any even.
Well, I haven't got so much of a favorite memory, but I remember playing Jom at World Finals, and yeah, let's just say I may have entered a little bit, and yeah, and let's say everyone has brought it up every single time, every time. Yeah. So that's not the best. Definitely a memory that stuck though.
Yeah, I mean, it's what sticks is what's important, and I'm glad you at least have that, and I'm glad you're here today. And we'll see how well you fare in your match going up today. But I'm gonna have to pass it back to the desk before we get there. So, do you have anything else to say for the audience, Preds?
Well, just we are the better WoG players. We're gonna stomp them.
Oh.
Don't worry, man.
All right, we're getting a stomp. I'm predicting a 2-0 in your favor. Then you better not lose me any channel points. I've been this has been Preds. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next interview.
Thank you so much one more time, Billy, for the pregame interview with the Scorpions. I love the confidence out of Preds, coming out here, but I also do love the thought, you're going back against Adapting, one of the kings of the EU region in general, one of the kings of Smite, and just the phrase of, I hope he's a little bit rusty more than anything else trying to go through there. But picks and bans for game number 1 between the Highland Ravens and the Aaru Scorpions are ready to go. And again, a completely different look from this Aaru Scorpions roster. If we look back at this team and the players that were on this team back in week 1 of phase 1, it's transformed so drastically. You had Calvin, Davey, Sager, Picarino, and French Emperor. Only a couple of those players still remain, being Picarino and David and Davey. Everybody else on this roster has completely transformed between their roles, between what teams they're on, and now we're looking at an undefeated Aaru Scorpions team to try and take on this newly formed Ravens team.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. And the fact that Preds went from, we hope Adapting's rusty to we're the better Works players and we're definitely going to stomp them and we have beef. I'm not sure which one to believe at this point. Are they nervous or are they super confident going in? Either way, we get the picks and bans here. And I was going to say the first thing that comes to mind, right? Adapting's back. He was playing Mercury when it wasn't in the meta. Right now, Mercury is very strong. They actually banned that away. They're not trying to prioritize that one too much, I think. Merc's pretty hit or miss. If you're landing those Sonic Booms consistently, you can get a great value. If not, maybe just want to go away from that. So first pick in the Khepri, just some great safety. A good pick there to lock in for the Ravens.
Yeah, Khepri going to be the first pick as far as the bans are concerned. Kali, King Arthur, Mercury all banned by the Ravens. Aaru Scorpions take Yuhuang, Uller, and Heimdall, which Heimdall, again, something that the European region really loves to play. We see it highly prioritized amongst the hunters, even so much above gods like Chernobog and Jing Wei. And speaking of gods that have been picked in alongside the Khepri that got locked in by the Ravens, the Aaru Scorpions will take one of the hottest mid laners, at least in the EU SEC, with Baba Yaga, and then Nemesis, who has kind of been that number 2 that we've been seeing go to in the jungle Trelly.
Yeah, Nem is always going to be a good option, I think. There are some, some CC targets you don't want to deal with, people that break the shield easily, but I think right now Nem is very highly prioritized just under that Mercury, so always safe to grab that whenever that's the option. Chernobog is going to be taken, though, because you mentioned that Heimdall and the Uller were taken away, so I'm curious, probably will be going to Coast. We haven't seen too many of these double hunter comps, and given the fact that we see that Thoth should be a pretty slow lane, Chernobog not want to get too aggressive in that lane. But who does want to get aggressive in lane is Ymir. That will be locked in as well. The wall is going to be pretty difficult to deal with for all 3 of these picks.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit problematic. None of them able to traditionally get over the wall, though Chernobog can
go in
hide
the wall.
inside. Chernobog can hide inside the wall, at least for a little while until that gets broken through. But as the bans start flying through, Dodgy and Hun Bat's going to be taken away, so a couple direct shots at Adapting. Meanwhile, on the other side, Freya, who's been on the rise ever since her buff, we saw what she was able to do at the Pro League last week, and now is Sun Wukong, which is kind of a bit of a head scratch to me, Charlie. Sun Wukong, not really the pick I would imagine for a ban, I should say.
Yeah, maybe just the overwhelming safety that Sun Wukong brings is what they're trying to not deal with here. You get a second life with a Khepri Revive. Wukong sort of gets a second life with the Somersault Cloud. So just wanting not to have these prolonged fights. You don't want that much safety in the solo lane. Maybe hinting that Adapting's trying to camp that solo lane and get ahead. But Fenrir is going to be the first one here. Pretty plug-and-play character. You're looking for very early aggression. Has a decent matchup in a Nemesis. You can follow the dashes with Brutalize, but you are going to be getting that shield more often than not unless you can save your ult or stun for the shield. Now one more pick, and it will be the Hercules.
Wow.
It's been a while since we've seen Herc in the solo lane.
Yeah, Hercules has not been around for very much, at least as of this year. The Fenrir kind of, the god himself is pretty in the middle at the meta at the moment. We've seen a couple of junglers at the top level playing. We've seen him in the SCC a lot, but this really feels like a throwback Adapting pick. I'm thinking back to Season 2 Worlds. They're going back up against like Barracuda's team on Cloud 9. He's chasing out gods like Shiba Lanka all the time, and now could probably chase a god like Jing Wei just as well. So we'll have to see how this Fenrir works out for the Ravens. Jungler coming back into the SEC of Adapting. Aaru Scorpions do round out with Bellona and Jing Wei for their final 2 picks. How do you feel kind of about the Bologna right now up against this? You know, you got the Chernobog auto attacker, Fenrir been going for the more auto attack. You like the way the Bologna slots into this draft for the Scorps?
Yeah, it's got a decent matchup in the Thoth as well. The disarm is just super annoying when you're channeling Hieroglyphic Assault. So I think it's decent here. If you're forced into beads against the Fenrir, your lane's a little bit slower, but given the fact that they have a Nemesis in the back as well, I think they'll be just fine.
Game number 1 between the Highland Ravens and the Aaru Scorpions are ready to go. The return of adapting and the change-ups of these 2 teams. What a shift in dynamic they've had across the board. You have a former Scorpions player on the Highland Ravens. You've got different Niflheim Wargs players separating
Just
between these 2
throughout
teams. So, I mean, there's, I think, 2 on the Scorpions and 2 on the Ravens. Adapting back. Whole new look at these 2 teams from way back when at the start of the year all the way up until now. A massive transformation in the EU region. And seeing Hercules in the solo lane, probably the most interesting topic, at least to jump off immediately, because this is a god that we don't see very often. When we were seeing Hercules, more often than not, it was kind of going towards the support roles for a while.
Yeah, this is there's a few different interesting things to touch on here. I was thinking kind of wanted to go the Hercules because maybe that, you know, that the Sigil build's decent right now and a Bombus Hammer late game could be solved, but just going for traditional Bluestone on the Hercules, wanting to get that early pressure, as well as it looks like Calvin is starting with that Chronos Pendant rush, trying to get as many Scarab's Blessings off as possible in these fights, and not getting the beats, just getting a sprint. Against Nemesis, it's going to work out pretty well, but there is a Ymir on the opposite side. Those freezes are going to be pretty easy to land, and just making sure to have so much CC for Calvin, going to have to position very well in this fight. And looking at the opposite side of the map, the Scorpions forced into 5 beats here. I mean, you're up against the adapting Fenrir, you probably want beats.
Yeah, for sure. You're definitely gonna want beads for those Ragnaroks, even if you do have some kind of CC immunity. Trying to time that and predict when a jump stun Ragnarok might come immediately out after you at that point. But this Chronos Pendant support, something that we were seeing pretty much strictly just from Awesome Jake over in the SPL, has now made its way down at least into the SCC level. Though Mifflin was alluding to, sometimes we do see strats like this kind of evolve in ranked from other players and then eventually finds its way towards some of these pros.
Yeah, I think getting Chronos Pendant has been around for a while, but getting it first item is certainly something that I had first seen from Jake. It's, you know, you're really prioritizing cooldown. Usually, you know, the first thing that I remember was the Gauntlet of Thebes and a Pridwin. That was the most CDR you were getting on the support as of early, but now it's just like, I want CDR resets, because with the Chronos Pendant resets, you have more than 20% CDR at that point. With seconds off, it's like, I don't know, I'd call it like 25%, give or take, every time those resets come through. So you're just making sure to really get as much pressure as possible. As we see Preds taking a little bit of damage here, Calvin's actually able to get quite aggressive in this lane because Jingwei doesn't bring that much just yet.
Adapting, jump stun is good, gets the beads from Panvich, and that's a perfect Ragnarok target for later on should adapting hit 5 before those cooldowns come back up. And going back over to Calvin, you know, we've already talked about the Chronos Pendant. You mentioned the sprint earlier. Sprint's going to be good up against Sarpei, but then you bring up the point of Preds, a very easy beads burner with those freeze, but at the same time, walls are going to be very good, and not many of these players, in fact, only one of them can actually get over one of those walls. So if you're Calvin in this position, are you prioritizing maybe getting that Phantom Shell level 12, or are you trying to save your own skin and get those beats?
No, you definitely need Phantom Shell here because your team just gets too messed up by the walls, as you highlighted, as long as Preds is on board. Well, I guess that depends on how far you're ahead, right? If the Ravens are just continuing this aggression, continually get some picks here and there, as long as they're ahead, you don't care about the wall because you're always running forward, right? The wall is, you can put a wall behind someone and force a Phantom Shell very easily, but if you're always going forward, the wall behind you doesn't really matter. However, if Preds is on point and they're able to find some aggression, then yeah, I think the Phantom Shell would certainly be an option from Calvin. It really just depends on what the gold is looking like when this Khepri hits level 12. That's really going to tell me what relic we're looking for here.
I am waiting for the level 5 between the junglers to see if Adapting makes another rotation over towards this right lane to put some pressure onto Panvich and maybe alleviate some pressure for Kana, who's kind of had been the purveyor of bullied more often than not, at least in the early stages of this game. Now that he's at least got a couple of abilities to his name, he's able to clear that wave pretty effectively. Dual lane, we get to see some of the pressure that Calvin and Kosa have been able to put up against Preds, who is constantly being pulled back by Calvin throughout the entirety of this early laning phase.
Oh yeah, and it looks like that's what we're going to continue, because despite the fact that I said Chernobog doesn't win lane too often, you're up against a Jingwei who also doesn't care to win lane. We've seen this matchup so many times where, you know, maybe the Chernobog backs and flies in and there's a 1v1 opportunity, but besides that, unless these junglers get active over in the duo lane, I don't expect to see too much fire being thrown. And about 50 seconds before the Bologna beads are back up, Panvich has been staying pretty far back in this lane, and Adapting really hasn't shown any presence on the right side of the map since that gank, and given the fact that the beads are up in 40 seconds, I don't think Fenrir will be going over there. Maybe looking towards duo lane, or maybe just anything in mid right now. Picorino is pretty far up.
Adapting, walks into the lane, but not going to walk at the enemy opposition. There are two staring down him in the lane. His mid laner, Angry, not ready, at least to go just yet. We do see level 5s hitting the dual lane by Calvin and Vaporish Coast as well. So everybody on the Highland Ravens has finally hit their level 5 mark. Preds and Davey just a little bit behind on making sure they get there. Or at least I should just say Preds. But Preds has been splitting a lot of this farm, has made early rotations to the mid, and Adapting's rotation to mid will get the beads out of Preds. So that's another set of beads down, and Adapting should be able to find another target with that next ult.
Yeah, that was a freeze attempt onto Adapting that just turns into Ymir losing beads. So Preds is going to have to be pretty careful now because the Shards of Ice not quite available yet, still level 4, but does tick over to level 5. Now has a little bit of extra CC immunity built into the kit. I laughed a little bit because when you said the mid laner angry, and I just thought, why is he angry?
Why is he so upset?
Yeah, what's he mad about? Just splitting some farm in the early game, but just a great name to be able to throw out in the cast every once in a while to make me think, what's wrong? Why is he so angry?
I wonder if the other 6 dwarves are if the other 6 dwarves already exist.
I don't even remember all the names of the
I'm gonna
dwarves.
be honest, I can't remember all 7 of them either. I think Sleepy, Droopy, or Drowsy. I can't. Drowsy.
I definitely don't think that.
I can't believe I brought up a reference to the 7 dwarves and I don't even know all 7 dwarves. You know how long it's been since I've seen Snow White?
That's what I'm saying. When you said angry, I was not thinking of the 7 dwarves.
I don't know why I was thinking of them either.
Yeah, I was thinking of this Thoth, top XP per minute on the charts right now, despite the fact that we haven't seen too much aggression as Calvin will get frozen and almost break that Khepri shield. So massive damage.
Oh, almost.
Massive
so close.
damage onto that
Oh no,
Khepri.
it's back. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
Isn't that the worst feeling where you think you put in a lot of damage against the Khepri and then you turn around and his health bar is still there because of all you hit was the shield?
Yeah, maybe trying to force out a sprint or something. Not going to be the case because not too much follow-up just yet. But despite the fact that we haven't seen too much over-aggression, we are seeing the gold sort of going the way of the Ravens for a bit. They are just getting a little bit more farm, I would assume, just on the back of Angry right now. The Thoth has been clearing very well, and I'm pretty sure Davey has also been under the tower a fair bit, losing some last hits to those minions because just a little bit of extra pressure coming the way of Vaporish Coast in that dual lane.
You see some pressure put in mid by Angry, at least trying to get some poke up against Picorino more than anything. This Baba Yaga has been going for these much more strong stacking items to get early on with these games going so long. We've been seeing a lot more typical things like Charon's coin into Warlock. Sometimes we see maybe Warlock Book of Thoth or Warlock Charon. So at least usually 2 stacking items we've been seeing out of these Baba Yagas more often than not. Picorino does start with the Warlocks, already 23 stacks on that item. And what better got to do it than Baba Yaga, who gets those free stacks, gets those free passives, and is able to get those a little bit earlier than most gods.
Yeah, you know how whenever we see a Baron, I always say it's like a cardinal sin that Baron doesn't himself buy the brew.
Correct.
I'm thinking that if you're not buying at least 2 stacking items on Baba Yaga in this current meta, there was a time when you could just go double flat pen Baba Yaga and get away with it. But right now, given the way mid builds are, you better be getting either Book of Thoth and Charons or Warlocks and Charons, or all 3. Sometimes I do all 3 just because why not? You might as well. If you're sitting back, you get a good bit of damage from the Book of Thoth anyways. You're just going to get so much value from those free sacks. Panvich, though, makes the rotation over just to some mid camps here just to make sure that the Scorpions are able to confirm that. And that's the benefit of having this Bologna. You clear waves so effectively. You can afford to rotate away from the lane a bit. You're not going to miss too much farm doing that.
I had to check for my own sanity's sake. Turns out Angry's not even the name of one of the 7 dwarves. It was Grumpy.
Yeah, I was going to say, I knew Grumpy, and I was like, would they really have Angry and Grumpy?
So they got Grumpy, Sneezy, Sleepy, Dopey, Happy, Doc, and Bashful.
Yeah, so
I was wrong on all accounts. I think I got Sleepy was the only one that I got right.
You're telling me Drewzy's not a dwarf either?
It's definitely not Druzy, it's Dopey.
Well, there you go.
I didn't think they would actually have a dwarf named Dopey.
Yeah, that's interesting, given you are the proprietor of the most useless knowledge ever. You always have the fun facts for me. There's our useless
knowledge of the day.
Yeah, you always have the fun facts for me, and this time you gave me incorrect facts. So
I gave you 1 out of 3 dwarves of the 7. I only got 1 of the 3 that I'd guessed.
Yeah, next time I'm doing
slipping.
some trivia, I'm gonna definitely get it right because at least you educated me after the fact, and that's what's important. And it looks like the offerings will go the way of the Ravens, so they get. Oh, actually, it's in solo lane. It's very rare that we get to see very early on a trebuchet happen in solo. More often than not, it's in the dual lane holding back. But we'll have to see how the Ravens are opting to play for this one. First time we'll get to see, you know, Adapting have a Trebuchet on his side of the map, so we'll have to see where they're trying to send it. Will they save it for a little bit later in the game for when Fire Giant's coming around, or will they try to get active with it early on? It looks like Pyromancer is being pinged, more so because Sarpei is around, not because, hey, Pyro spawns in about a minute, you guys want to set up for it, you know, a minute and 10 seconds before it spawns. Just recognizing, hey, Nemesis is here, and we're aware of her presence.
Well, Adapting got a little bit aggressive early on in the game. We saw a jump into solo lane, get beats from Panvitch right away. And then we saw aggression in the right side jungle from Adapting, jumps in, gets the beads away from Preds. But we haven't seen much beyond there. All 5 beads are back up for the members of the Aaru Scorpions. Even Preds has his back off of cooldown off the initial stun from earlier on, the initial beads burn. So at least in the early stages of this game, Adapting has made his presence known, but he hasn't really established presence in any of these lanes.
Yeah, if anything, the gank in solo, that was some pressure for sure. Get the beads on Panvitch, but I think the Ragnarok in right after the fact was just Preds hiding around a wall saying, I'm going to get a free freeze onto this Fenrir, and then Adapting just had the reaction time to say, I'm going to immune that freeze with Ragnarok, pick you up, get your beads, and then run away. So that was more of a defensive Fenrir, if anything. I think just the one gank in solo is all we've seen thus far. Preds could have a decent wall opportunity here for Calvin, but if you look around, Preds is by himself, and that shield that's not even half of the Khepri shield. Whenever there's aggression from this Khepri, actually, Nemesis is on red as well, so Sarpei will be able to invade that red. The Scorpions are tired of sitting back and getting behind in gold. They're trying to get aggressive. Purple buff is also being invaded.
Definitely want to find some pressure in one of these lanes. Purple buff goes over to the Aaru Scorpions. Davian Sarpei able to guarantee that one and steal it away from Coast. We'll have to fight for a little longer without his buff. Don't worry for him, though. It'll come back up in about 2 minutes, so it won't be too long. He has to deal without that. But even despite the fact that there's been no kills and kind of minimal pressure established across the board, the Highland Ravens do hold about a 1,000 gold lead just from their macro play, being able to pick up those offerings, get that Trebuchet online, which is still sitting in the solo lane. I think you're right to bring up that it's rare that we see Trebuchet go to solo lane, especially this early in the game, but I guess considering that Khan and Panvitch haven't really had to let minions fall to their tower, got a little bit of their luck with the siege rules on that. And Pyromancer started by the Scorpions, but immediately pushed away.
Yeah, you got the Golden Blade and the Stone cutting on Sarpei, so some decent burn for that objective. When 2 physicals do squat up on it, it's going to go down, you know, not fairly quickly, but quickly enough that you could probably sneak it if there's not enough vision. And of course, Highland Ravens aren't going to let a Pyromancer go down just yet. They're going to show some face, and that objective is going to be dropped. I'm expecting to see some more presence on the left side of the map because the red buff and the purple buff are both invaded, right? The Ravens did not get their rotation on that side, so Adapting's going to have to be on the cooldown of that buff or try to get active elsewhere because you don't want to keep giving Sarpei these free invades. Right now it's 12 to 12. Level-wise for the junglers, you don't want to let the Nemesis pull ahead just by stealing away because it'll also put your mid laner behind and your dual lane. You don't want your Hunter getting behind either in this meta right now. So Ko's probably happy and saying, hey, make sure you're over here when these buffs are spawning. We want some action from this Fenrir, and Adapting is staying over here for a little bit as a rev up is about to spawn in.
Yeah, red buff does get dropped by Picarino and Sarpei. Pred's just making sure to play zone duty. And now the red buff on the Raven side of the map is coming back up, but with Sarpei on the right side of the mid lane, no chance that he's going to make a rotation over to try and steal that one away. So Adapting will guarantee the buff for his mid laner, and his mid laner is the one that's ahead out of everybody on his team. Meanwhile, Adapting just a tad bit behind Sarpei as far as the XP is concerned. So still a very dead even game here, 12 minutes in, no kills just yet. And if you're the Highland Ravens team, if you're Adapting, you're still seeing 5 sets of beads. Now Aegis is coming online. Blinks are starting to come online. Has his time for the early establishment passed? And at this point, if you're Adapting, where do you start to try and make a wave start up?
Well, that depends because what did we decide? I know we've talked about it a few times. When is mid game, right? So I think early game is already over. We're pretty much in mid game, right? Depending on the meta, depending on what league. Hold that thought though. Pyromancer's being looked at. Picarino's here as well, and Sarpei's coming back in.
Pyromancer down to 30%. 1 potion from Picarino over the wall, and Eagles rally in by Preds, and an ultimate from Angry, but 2 are already down for the Aaru Scorpions. The Pyromancer falls, but the Highland Ravens have lost 2. Angry finds his way to the tier 2 tower in solo to get out of danger. But what a turn by the Aaru Scorpions. Everybody aside from their Hunter showing up to that fight, and maybe an extra pick if they can find one into Kana, but Kana a little too tanky for the Scorpions to take down.
Yeah, that was a massive ult by Panvich to get the stun onto that objective. That's the issue with having so many melee characters on an objective like that Pyromancer. If you are trying to confirm it, if you are squatting up and everyone getting on top of it, whenever the confirm comes in, you're also grouped up for a big stun like that. So, beautiful answer back. Unfortunately for the Scorpions, the gold is still going the way of the Ravens. Their farm has still been pretty on top of things, about 700 in their favor at the moment. So they've been, continuously keeping that farm up as well as, just trying to force objectives. Didn't quite go their way. You don't want to lose 2 kills anytime you go for a Pyromancer like that. I'm sure they thought, we can get it and get out sort of thing. We have the Thoth ultimate, but great play by Bologna to make sure to get that double stun.
Yeah, just not quite enough sustain out of Adapting, who was kind of tanking up alongside that Pyromancer during the time, and then a good final judgment to at least get the damage out there and get that objective out, but at the same time, using and committing so much to getting the smaller of the three,
Pyromancer,
the smaller of the 3 objectives. No fight immediately after, and then as highlighted there, Soul Lane able to find a massive ultimate right in Panvich with that Eagles rally, found 2 during that fight. So a good start now to the Scorpions. 13 minutes, and we finally get our first 2 kills of the game. We finally get our first plays around the objective. The kills go over to the Aaru Scorpions, but as you mentioned, the Highland Ravens still holding on to a slight lead.
Yeah, Sarpei has a 2-level lead right now in the jungle because Adapting did fall right as that objective started. Sarpei got a kill, got an assist, and then was able to steal away a fair bit of farm. So if you are the Scorpions, you got to be looking to play through your jungler at the moment. You should have a fair lead. Just 3 items online, a ton of movement speed built in, and it looks like the Ravens are not trying to back up here. They're trying to still get aggressive as Calvin might be caught out here.
Calvin plucks into 4. House comes out from Peak Arena to throw some damage. Final Judgment clips the backline and he puts Preds down at critical health, and Adapting picks up 1 with the Ragnarok. But everybody else on the Scorpions is able to find a path out. Kana goes to the backline, finds a push, but it's only against Davey, who will be just fine. No further engage from the Ravens on the back end of the fight. But now over to the Gold Fury goes the Ravens.
Yeah, that was wild. I thought Calvin might have been out of position, but the team, just Angry, had so much follow-up damage there. The ultimate coming in as Gold Fury getting very low, but Panvich has an Eagles rally. And we remember what happened last time.
Yep.
And it looks like the Ravens also remember, and they're going to back off. The second that Bologna showed up, that objective was done. Just too much. They were taking a little bit too much damage there, and the fight after the fact was a little bit too much to bite off. So they decided just to back up there. They'll just not risk a 50-50.
Panvich picks up not just the Berserker Shield, which was something that was very popular with Bologna's at the start of the season, but also a Glad Shield now. So wielding both of those shields, so a little bit more ability damage proc coming through with that second item. Still get some good in-hand damage with that first item, and then a Shogun's Kasari. So a little bit of an all-around build for Panvich, not just focusing only on getting those autos, but also focusing on getting some of that ability damage out, and maybe trying to bolster the rest of the team. Shogun's Kasari feels like we haven't seen that item nearly as much as of recent Trelly.
Yeah, with the auto attack warriors in solo, it was definitely pretty popular for a bit, and even in the SPL, we've been seeing Osiris go a similar style of build where you still want to get a fair bit of auto attack, but also the Glad Shield you just get so much value out of. So weaving your abilities and auto attacks in to the kid is always going to award some decent damage and tank stats overall. And it looks like Kana just ulting waves and staying as far back. You don't have eyes on this Nemesis. Sarpei has been so active ever since that Pyromancer, just showing some presence and backing up. Even if you think there's a kill opportunity, you don't want to get too over aggressive when the Nemesis is around. There's no way they could possibly dive Kana here, which is why I'm just going to continue talking. Just so much tank stats built in for the Hercules, movement speed, that sort of thing. Not enough DPS to burn through, unless, of course, Kana just uses his abilities a little bit roughly.
There we see the strength of Ymir versus some of these other gods, especially one with a more telegraphed initiation like Calvin has. Calvin finds the root, and every single time what has Preds immediately done, turn around, throwing a wall right in front of himself, so that way Calvin, even if he thought that maybe he could dash into that tier 1 tower to get some pressure, will immediately blocked away. And we've been seeing so much wall utilization from these support Ymirs as of recent, using them to block autos and towers, or block initiations, whether it be at actual fights or not. Gold Fury started up by the Ravens, burning quickly. Preds is here, and Preds will steal it away. The Aaru Scorpions coming with a massive objective for themselves. That Shards of Ice, 133 damage to steal it away.
Yeah, when you see a Ymir walk up slowly like that, hold that thought. Kana could be in some trouble this time around. A little bit further up in the lane, and the protection shred from Sarpei is here.
Kana does find a push,
Oh,
has his heal going. The boulder will clear out the wave at least a little bit, but Kana is just
This is
getting
gonna take so
poked down.
long.
Panvich is tanking for quite a while, but can't tank for much longer. Does get that dash just in time. Doesn't get pulled back in, but Davey does not have the same tanky stats that Kana does on the opposite side. Vaporish Coast will get the Highland Ravens on the board.
Yeah, once I saw the ult, I was like, maybe kind of dies. Then I saw that heal proc, and I was like, oh, you're not killing that Hercules. The Toxic Blade was built, but just ulting is not going to apply that Toxic Blade. You got to auto-attack the Hercules a fair bit first, and because Sarpei ulted and wasn't able to close gap to get the Toxic Blade procs, a fair heal and some juking around. I believe the Beats also was used, so kind of doing everything he could just to survive in that lane and make sure they got some pressure on the left side of the map. Vaporish Coast. You know, even with adapting on this roster, I still think Coast is the one you want to get kills for this team. You want this ADC to get as ahead as possible. On a Chernobog, you can hold across the map and fight essentially whoever you want. So as many items as you can get to this Chernobog is going to make the Highland Ravens, 5v5 team fight just so much better. So I think having your Chernobog be 1-0 right now, a pretty good look.
Pyromancer by the Ravens again. Last time it was stolen away and 2 kills went to the Scorpions. This time the Pyromancer goes to them, and at least 1 kill for the Highland Ravens. Kana finds Preds, and unfortunately for Panvich, got to use the ultimate defensively this time. Eagles rally on the run, but a blink push from Kana will find Davey, and Vaporish Coast finds the last shot of the kill. A great initiation for the soul of the Ravens to get the ball rolling. And now the Ravens starting up the Fire Giant.
Where's
Panvich
Picarino
doesn't
going?
have his ultimate to get in and try and steal this one away. Sarpei gonna be pushed by, and it seems that the Highland Ravens are just gonna be able to grab this objective for free.
I'm amazed that Picarino did not at least try to come through the back. You have the home sweet home, and you have a fair bit of survivability, both relics available, Soul Reaver online. You could have at least stalled that, but I guess the call from the Scorpions was, we're not going in 3v5, despite some low health bars, some low mana, that sort of thing. We're not about to contest this Fire Giant. So what started as a Pyromancer pull, turned into, because of some great pulls by Kana and Calvin, just great CC from these tanks, turned into 2 picks and a Fire Giant. That's going to be exactly what you want if you're the Highland Ravens. Coast already back and left, starting to push up that wave, make sure to get as much farm as possible. Ticking over to level 20 pretty shortly here. Sarpei is also level 19, so a fair bit of XP on the side of the Scorpions jungler. I just don't know how much you want to stop and try to put a stop to all these pushing. All the towers are available, so you got some time as the right one just went down. Now the Ravens have so much gold that they're able to grab with this objective.
And the Trebuchet that got picked up much earlier on in the game that went over to that solo lane is just now being pushed up, at least by Kana, so that can maybe give some pressure to the Ravens to start getting something going in one of these other 2 lanes. Now that tier 1 tower is gone, both in solo and in now duo lane, as Vaporish Coast is able to drop that one down. Angry in mid will be joined by Adapting and Calvin to start up a push in yet another lane, and this one should go over to the Highland Ravens with not much contest. A wall thrown by Preds just to slow them down, but all 3 tier 1s are down. Angry dashes in aggressively, and if that was me playing Thoth, I would have had 5 people jump on me in an instant, but nobody from the Scorpions really in a position to try and find that pull. Kana just misses his own.
Yeah, Angry is only going to dash in when the opportunity presents itself, and there was an opportunity. This tier 2 tower will stand tall a little bit longer. Very weak HP as Sarpei may be looking to wrap around, sort of hiding behind the Baba Yaga house, and will run away once spotted out. These walls are keeping this tower up for quite some time, but the Trebuchet may just help out and will take the last shot onto that tier 2 tower. Still 2 more towers on the left and right side of the map respectively. They've got some time to decide what they want to do. Primal Fury will be spawning in shortly as well, so maybe tier 2 and left, back for the Primal. Do a full reset, get some upgraded starter items. A few more members of the Ravens should be ticking over to level 20 after that point. And it's all up to the Scorpions. When do they want to just plant their feet and say, we are defending? Is it at this tier 2 tower? It looks like possibly Panvich is stepping up just to get some cheeky poke and looking to see if there's any sort of opportunity for a kill. But remember, that tier 2 and right is being aggressed upon by the Trebuchet as well.
Sarpei looping around the back of the jungle. Not sure if he got spotted out. It seems that he did. A small ping comes out from the Ravens to spot out the jungler of the Aaru Scorpions. It's going to take a while before Sarpei can reclaim that gap and try and find a way into this team fight. Left tier 2 is the target of the Highland Ravens, but if Sarpei steps a little too far forward, it could be an easy turn and burn by the Ravens. These walls from Pred slowing down the push, making sure that these auto attackers from the Ravens can't do much. A freeze finds 2. Calvin has to use the ultimate on himself, gets body blocked inside the tower. The boulder doing a lot of damage to the backline, but not enough to find a kill. Sarpei nearly finds the 1v1 against Adapting, and Sarpei can loop himself down towards the bottom of the fight. But Sarpei doesn't have any backup. It's just him.
Yeah, I was going to say, is the rest of the team chasing? The answer is no, and Sarpei is sort of just watching. Backpedaling, saying, you guys know where I'm here? Yes, they do. And they are trying to run away, but also the Primal Fury is available. Red buff
so
will be
close.
stolen away by the Scorpions, and it looks like 1 or 2 more shots from the Trebuchet. Could have gotten that tower, but with the rotation for Panvich, not going to be the case. The Trebuchet, it was very old. I was going to say it died so young, but it's been around since like, what, 10 minutes into the game, so it lived a good life and netted a fair bit of damage onto that tier 2 tower, and right?
I mean, we got almost 5 towers down now because of the help from the Trebuchet that pushed up in mid, helped take down the tier 2 tower there. One more good auto attack from Vaporishko should drop the one in the right lane, and a lot of value from this Fire Giant buff that's about to wear off for the Highland Ravens, being able to pick up 4, nearly 5 towers and a couple of kills all along the way. The Highland Ravens, what was only about 1,000 gold at the start of this game, has now been able to spiral itself up to nearly 7,000, and that's a full 7,000 swing. Because you see down at the very bottom where it did dip down, that was the Gold Fury steal that the Aaru Scorpions support was able to grab there. So Highland Ravens have been on the incline ever since that objective drop.
Yeah, but if you are the Aaru Scorpions, plenty of time to get back into this game. None of your birds are exposed just yet. Obviously, the one in mid doesn't have any protection, but still has not went down. So you have 3 full health Phoenixes. The gold lead's not so outrageous that you can't step up to this Fire Giant, and you have Sarpei, who has just been a wrecking force in the backline, not being able to do too much damage overall in the player damage charts, but all of the damage was very important, almost soloing out adapting before that fight even started. So you have a fair bit of damage on your Nemesis as well as this Fire Giant. It is about to spawn in, and the Highland Ravens have a good amount of vision. They are all postured and ready to go for this objective, except for Kana, who's running out of base currently. Steal potential, I still think, goes the way of the Highland Ravens. They just have much better confirm. You have some decent options if Panvich goes in and stuns out the Thoth, but you got to be looking for a fight here. The Ravens aren't looking for a 50-50. They want to engage.
For now, it's going to be hard to push up when Angry is pelting hieroglyphic shots at you from a distance. Always hard to close gap, and Preds narrowly finds a wall for himself to not get pulled into enemy territory. Great awareness by the support to make sure to drop that one in front of his feet right as he's getting picked up by Kana. But you see again, Sarpei separated from the rest of his team, again, trying to find another path into the backside of this team fight.
Yeah, as long as Angry is standing here, no one from the Aaru Scorpions want to post up, and it looks like Kana is going to get frozen but not take too much poke in return. So the Ravens aren't ready to pull this. Again, they want any sort of objective they can go for, any sort of just, way that they can push their advantage. Will they get a relic? Will they get an ultimate? It looks like they'll get Preds, who goes back to base, and once that gets spotted out, they're going to start pulling this. Sarpei is wrapping around, though.
He's going back to base, going to make this a 4 versus 5. Sarpei again on the loop around. Fire Giant started, but then leashed once more. Highland Ravens want their one pick before Preds shows back up, but they will not find it. Preds has returned to rejoin his team and make it yet another Fire Giant 5v5. We saw this dance in game 1 of our very first set. That was a 20-minute dance around the Fire Giant. Maybe for hopes of all of our sanities that we don't see yet another one of those, a root from distance will find its way towards Preds. Again, just coming back from base, now already poked out a quarter of his health.
Yeah, there's a few different upgrades that are probably pretty close here for both squads. I think, most notably adapting would love a Bombus Hammer here, because then you could use the Ragnarok, auto attack some things and come back in, and the Fire Giant's actually getting low this time, and the Scorpions, they gotta post up now.
Quarter HP on the objective. Preds uses his beads after getting pulled by Calvin, who's getting CC'd twice. Panvich goes to the back line to find Coast. And the Fire Giant has been leashed. A boulder in the backline by Calvin will find some good damage up against Preds and will force the Ymir to go back to base once again. And the Fire Giant has been reset.
Yeah, Coast is frontlining here, and it looks like they're going to chase down Picarino. The ult's not available, and that should be the first pick of this fight.
Picarino goes down, but it's not to Coast. It's to Angry, but Coast is going to throw the taunts out anyways to let him know who the top ADC is. 2-0-2 for the Chernobog of the Highland Ravens. 27 minutes in. Kana finds another pick, but no push this time up against Panvich.
Yeah, the Ravens are just going to back up, and Adapting did get the Bombus Hammer, and Angry did upgrade the Pendulum. A lot of upgraded starter items coming the way of the Ravens. Coast didn't have to leave. Was full HP, full mana, does not care to back up and upgrade anything. You still got about 25 seconds without Picarino, so it's still going to be a 5v4 when you do decide to pull this objective. I'm looking at the posturing of the Scorpions, and it looks like they are running away from this Fire Giant. I don't think anyone's going to be trying to contest, so once again, it looks like a free objective for the Highland Ravens. This time, going to be very happy with the amount of relics and things they were able to force. Preds is going to have nothing available for quite some time. and you also got the Aegis down from Davey. So the Ravens are going to push down right that tier 2 tower. Remember, the Trebuchet already touched it a lot, so very weak. It looks like just one auto attack from the ADCs will be able to put down this tier 2 tower. Will the Ravens go for Phoenix or just back off? Looking at the fact that 3 Scorpions on the left side of the map, they could go for this.
So annoying having a wall that lasts for nearly 6 seconds, assuming that Preds has that already maxed out at this point. Just blocking your path from getting those final autos. But the Highland Ravens, they get the Fire Giant, they get 1 pick before said Fire Giant, and then a tier 2 tower. Only the tier 2 in duo left standing for the Highland Ravens to knock down before it's time for Phoenix Sieges. And talking about those Sieges, if you're the Aaru Scorpions, you get your 1 tower, it's sitting about 60% HP, maybe not a full defense, maybe not a hard defense at that one, but how does the Phoenix defenses look for the Scorpions?
Well, they have some decent opportunities to stall with Preds' walls, as we've already highlighted. So it'll be very annoying. The Ravens want to go in. I think the best way to play this would be adapting. Jumps in, finds that Ragnarok, then immediately disengages. Use everything to make sure he can get out. With those Bumba Hammers proc, you can just get your ultimate back up. A second Ragnarok will pretty much guarantee a kill at that point. The fact that Coast also has been dishing out so much damage, has the Deathbringer completed. This is a full build Chernobog at this point in the game. You can essentially CC the tanks. Anyone that walks up, that should be your first target, and not really focus out the Phoenix just yet. Look for a pick, and then the Phoenix comes after.
Angry was top in the damage charts going into that last team fight, nearly double everybody else there. 21,000, poking close to 22K now. But the next highest being Coast at 12,500, so it's not been a high damage game for everybody else across the map, but Angry on this long range mage has been able to find some success. Kana finds a set of beads off of Panvich, off of the pluck immediately, and that'll force Panvich to play a little bit further back.
And it looks like Angry's still dishing out damage, but this time Panvich ults in.
Panvich goes in, Preds gets pushed in, beads and Boulder have now been expended. The beads, at least from the support, the Boulder from Kana. But the Aaru Scorpions, their support and solo have been forced to reset, and that should mean that this Phoenix, once the wall disappears, will go over to the Highland Ravens.
It's not a boulder.
It's a rock. Actually, it's a baseball in this case.
Yeah,
we're both wrong now.
Yeah, this time it's going to be neither. Sarpe was trying to push those minions out, and it looks like Will. Actually, no, we'll back off. I was going to say, if Nemesis is able to clear that wave, it's going to be a little bit longer for the Ravens to actually go in for the Phoenix. But Kana's going to back up there to defend that wave with his life, and I don't think the Nem's going to be able to clear those out. But you're going to have a while before the left side fire minions are pushing in. The Scorpions need to try and find a defense here, as Calvin's just dancing, waiting for the squad to group up.
Kana will soak up some of the damage from the Phoenix, misses the pluck on Panvich, but all the damage onto Preds. May push this Ymir back. Eagles Rally finds 2 from Panvich. The target is Angry, but adapting is here to play bodyguard. Sarpe dives to the backline, but stunned out and cannot find a way out. It's Angry with the first kill of the fight. Another push by Kana, and ultimate clips Pikarudu for 1,300 damage, but it's 2 kills going to the Scorpions. Panvich able to find 1, and so does Davey. Kana finds the push up against this Balone, and the Scorpions will continue to push forward.
Yeah, Coast had to go back to base, and Angry is the only one who could help Kana out here. And since that wall missed, I think Hercules will be just fine. The mid-Phoenix stands tall. No auto attacks the way of the Highland Ravens. So the Fire Giant, you got about 30 seconds left, and the Scorpions are able to get maybe just a Pyromancer in their defense, as someone's going to have to back and get those Fire Minions left. A great stun in by Preds and Panvich to catch the dash from Coast. Once that dash was caught, Chernobog had to go right up into the ult, stall as much as possible, and I think the rest of the Ravens went in to say, we're not going to let our ADC die. Some good return damage from Angry. We saw that ult connect and almost one-shot Picarino. Still doing a ton on this stuff, but I think you're happy with 1 Phoenix, right? It could have been worse. It could have been better. You take the 1 Phoenix down, you use that to push your lead next time. You could just send Coast over to that left side, even though the Fire Minions are pushing. Push the wave as much as you can, then ult in. There's so many different ways that the Ravens can push their lead here to make sure that this enhanced Fire Giant goes their way as well, given the fact that the map state is the way it is. You have that Phoenix open, you have the Fire Minions pushing.
So we did get to see a decent look at the Phoenix defense once the Scorpions were able to step up, and even though Preds got very poked out right before that fight, still able to find a good wall to really kind of put a panic in the mindset of the Highland Ravens. Aaru Scorpions grouped up as 5.
They see them though. Calvin spotted it.
Ward catch them out, or no, it did not. Calvin able to dash away from the 5, but a blink in by Preds. A wall will keep Calvin in place. Calvin will find the pull and the Phantom Shell to get himself out The root sprint is good. Angry manages to find up one. Adapting picks up a kill of his own, potentially. But it's Angry to grab the double kill. Now, on the run is one, but Panovich gets pulled back into the clutches of Vapor's Coast. Angry finds the triple kill, and it's only Picarino left, but it's a full house for the Highland Ravens. All 5 gone on the Scorpions. And who cares about the Fire Giants? The Ravens can just push for the end.
Yeah, I mean, I actually like the play from the Scorpions, but Calvin, I thought spotted it out immediately and was like, hey guys, they're over here, and then they all come from behind, and he's like, wait, no, I didn't spot that out, but now is able to find them. So the Scorpions recognized immediately that they weren't able to defend that enhanced Fire Giant, given the fact that Phoenix was open. So they had to go for the Hail Mary play. Just so much damage coming out from Angry. The final judgment was able to find an early pick, and then you use your numbers advantage. Vapor's Coast can fly in for the chase down if need be. Just a great play by the Ravens, recognizing that the Scorpions might have been going for something cheeky.
So a lot of our kills this game, more than anything, like first 13 minutes, we don't see anything. Then Pyromancer starts up, and that's where we finally get to see our action. The Scorpion find a couple of picks, even after that objective, and we still see fight back at them. Even though they're down the entirety of the early game, Scorpions still manage to find either a pick or an objective steal to keep themselves alive, but unfortunately, once that first Fire Giant really went down, it was kind of just all gas pedal from the Ravens.
Yeah, I would say so. The carries from the Ravens were just doing so much damage. I mean, Coast was able to get his build online so much earlier, just a small gank in that dual lane, and then Angry. This Thoth in the backlines was so well protected and able to just chunk out damage as well.
Yeah, Angry topping the damage charts, and the Highland Ravens topping game number 1. Can they continue that trend in game 2? We'll find out right after this break. back to the EU SCC. The Highland Ravens find themselves a nice victory in game number 1 to get their set rolling up against the Aaru Scorpions. And some of that off of the back of adapting, being able to find a little bit of early presence at the start of the game, but more than anything, Angry able to find some massive player damage, some massive kills as these team fights and these more mid to late game fights started rolling themselves through. So the Highland Ravens find themselves game number 1 and get themselves set up for game number 2. And one thing, this game it felt real cut and dry when it came down to the actual gameplay. It was just the Highland Ravens team fought better more than anything else. So for the Aaru Scorpions, for themselves in game number 2, what changes they need to make up for their team fights more than anything?
That's an interesting one because I think, again, Sarpe got pretty far ahead in the jungle, actually. We saw the Nemesis find some early presence just around the jungle. The first kill was 17 minutes in for the Ravens, and it was because there was a gank opportunity in right. At this moment, there is a very fed Nemesis trying to kill Khan on the right lane. Doesn't work out, and then Coast has a lead. Then they're able to translate that into a Fire Giant fight a few minutes later that actually started as a Pyromancer fight. So I think just positioning more than anything else, trying to push your lead as much as you can, because the Ravens were up in gold, but the Aaru Scorpions had an opportunity where after that Pyromancer where they got 2 kills where they could have pushed their lead. It seemed to me like Connor was always in a good position, that there really was no way to force a gank in that solo lane. So maybe Sarpe trying to get active early elsewhere, maybe also get Panvich to force Kana's ults or relics early if you are trying to focus solo, things like that, just trying to get this Nemesis to use that lead elsewhere.
A lot of these team fights ended up where Angry was left alone during those fights. You can see just how much damage a fully charged Final Judgment. If you didn't already know, there's your answer, just how dangerous a Thoth can be when left alone. And Angry didn't get touched at all during this fight.
No, that could have been a penta.
Yeah, he literally had just he sat this entire fight in the back line and I guess allowed Vapor's Coast to have a couple of those kills, maybe anything else, but a triple to end the game for Angry, a double for Vapor's Coast. It puts 503 and 406 respectfully on those 2 players.
Yeah, remember when I said, we've quoted this a few times now, but when your carries go undying, it's a very hard game to try and push into them, right? Even if you get a pick, even if you're leading the fight. I'm going to be honest with you, I never saw that adapting did 6,000 damage.
He didn't do much.
Calvin did more. I did not notice that. I knew that Sarpe had
I didn't realize Calvin out-damaged
him.
him.
I knew that Sarpe had a lead in the jungle and that the Fenrir was playing defensively. I saw that much. I just didn't realize how low the Fenrir's damage actually was. So 5 beats, putting a lot of respect onto the Fenrir. That is something, that's like some unseen value that the Fenrir got. Was maybe not so much DPS, but forcing the enemies into 5 beats does make their engage a little bit harder, makes their tanks have to stand a little bit differently in the fights, things like that. So some unseen value there for the pick, but Coast and Angry, man, just so much damage.
Yeah, Coast, Angry, Kana being able to be a strong front line on that Hercules. I believe it was 107 for him to kind of round that game out there. So some strong performance, at least out of this newly formed Highland Ravens team up against the Scorpions. We'll see if they can reprise that in game number 2. Can the Highland Ravens keep that same level of pace up? Or can the Aaru Scorpions maybe turn something around? We'll see what happens at least to start things out in the picks and bans for game number 2 to see if there are any changes made by the Scorpions. Maybe look to not give Angry something that he can sit in the backline and free cast on. Maybe find something for the Scorpions that they themselves can try and put a little bit of pressure on this mid laner.
Yeah, we'll have to see how they decide to go for this, but they will just ban the Heimdall away. One of Coast's best picks that I can think of off the top of my head. Uller probably going to follow suit as well, because that's also one of his best picks. Focusing out the dual lane, the Scorpions are still going to continue to do. Question is, are they going to let this Mercury through, or will it just be banned away? The Ravens obviously banned it away last time when they were in first pick, something they didn't prioritize too much, and it looks like so far the bans are going to be very similar. Here's the question, then. The Scorpions have the opportunity to take away this Thoth, but they're not going to. They are just going to ban away the King of Arthur. Maybe prioritize it. They could grab it for themselves. They could ban it in that way by grabbing it for themselves. But the Ravens, however, are going to take away Khepri. So we can't see a full run back. Khepri will not be going the way of the Ravens this time, and they don't want the Scorpions to have it either.
Yu Huang, who was banned away in game number 1, left open in game number 2, will be the first pick for the Aaru Scorpions. So something at least to get that mid lane started up for Picarino. Not able to have quite the performance that maybe he was hoping for on that Baba Yaga. We didn't really get to see much action out of the Scorpions mid laner that time. So maybe with this Yu Huang, those first couple of levels, as we've been seeing the most success out of him, at least for the early game started out. then we typically don't see very much out of him until like kind of 15, 20 or so minute mark.
Yeah, for me, you're picking Yu Huang for the safety and that ultimate just brings so much damage late game, as well as, I don't know what else to call it. There's peel in the sense that you can push people away from you, but there's also setup in the sense that you could pull them towards you. There's a lot that this ultimate brings, so just getting Yu Huang early on in the draft doesn't really reveal too much about your draft, and also just gives you a very strong pick. Nemesis and Chernobog going to be grabbed, and whenever we see the Chernobog, usually the answer back immediately is going to be the Jingwei, so nothing out of the ordinary there.
Yeah, try and match the global presence that a Chernobog has with at least maybe some semi-global that Jingwei can have. Maybe I can't even know so say semi, because semi would be like half.
Yeah, she can just
She's
fly
like
to
a,
towers.
she's like what would it be? Quarter global, I guess.
Yeah, she can
fly to a tier 1 tower.
She can zoom a bit. Well,
She can kind of move around a little bit.
yeah.
Add Jingwei to a Bologna as the next pick for the Aaru Scorpions, so that solo laner rounded out for the Scorpions. So we have at least one god in all of the lanes picked out for the Aaru Scorpions. The Ravens will grab the Nemesis, Chernobog, and Baba Yaga. So now we get to see how Angry can perform on this god.
Yeah, that's interesting because, I don't think that given what the Aaru Scorpions have picked thus far, none of that screams to me like I don't want to pick Thoth into this, but also Baba Yaga is a bit safer, still has a fair bit of range damage, and also just brings a ton of damage like the Thoth pick. So just something simple, maybe he just didn't want to run back the Thoth could be the option. Now the Aaru Scorpions have a chance to target ban some of these supports because none of them were picked in just yet. We obviously have seen the Khepri taken away. The Ymir is still open for either of these supports right now because the fact that neither of these Guardians have been decided what they want in that support role, as well as we've seen the Nemesis, but on the flip side, the Aaru Scorpions still want a jungler as well.
We do see that Ganesh ban a shot at Calvin, who's been playing a lot of that Ganesh in the EU SCC, and then along with that Kumbhakarn, who has been very present in the EU SCC,
Just
whether
everywhere.
that be in the solo lane or over in the support role. At least for the EU, the solo lane does make its way over, but I think you're right to highlight just Kumbhakarn in general has been making massive strides in rising up the ranks for a lot of these teams at just about every competitive level. But it does leave Fafnir open, so you got a couple of auto attackers. Now throw a Fafnir into the mix, and Ravens have a little bit more presence around these objectives.
Yeah, I mean, whenever I see a hunter and an auto attack jungler, Fafnir is going to be a decent pick no matter what. And then you add a second hunter, and it's always going to be an option as well. Erlong is going to be the pick here for the Scorpions. I'm assuming going in the way of the jungle. We've seen a bit of switch up, but more often than not, that Erlong is in the jungle, and that Balloon will be going solo. Atlas is going to be the last pick here. Brings a ton of lockdown, prod shred. Love this pick, very mobile in that regard as well. So I think it's a pretty strong option here for the Scorpions. And finally, the Ravens get to decide, hey, we're just going to run back the Hercules. I have no problem with it, and I don't think they don't have any problem with it either. Kana looked great, was able to survive so well in lane, even with some gank opportunities to that solo lane, as well as just being able to set up so much. So many pulls were hit, the blink pull specifically. Kana was able to set up a lot for the team with this pick.
So a lot of decent CC from the Aaru Scorpions, a couple of maybe different initiations. We had the Eagles rallies that were coming out of Panvich last time around that were able to set up around some of these objectives. Now you got a 9 turns Blessing, and you got an Atlas. So we'll see if the Aaru Scorpions can round it out in game number 2 and maybe take us to a game 3, or the Highland Ravens going to run away with this one and get a sweep over the undefeated Aaru Scorpions. We'll jump right into game number 2 to get all the action started out. And maybe we can kind of go back to this Atlas, because it's been a while since we've seen this god. Saw him at the very beginning of Masters, then he a little bit of competitive ban time just to deal with some problems with him, and now we're seeing him back here. And I know that a couple of players, notably I believe it was Stata Dragon at the end of last week during his post-game interview, was talking about being happy that this god is going to be back and available for players. I mean, how do you feel about the Atlas for the Scorpions team?
I love the Atlas. I think if you're trying to play through the duo lane and get your ADC some pressure, Atlas is a great way. You just get beats down so freely. Calvin's always going to have to either hammer out that gravity well or just make sure that no one's getting picked up here, because it actually is the horrific emblem going the way of Calvin, which is interesting because Preds does have the slow cleanse on that dash, which is all horrific emblem is. But with the hammer stun into a horrific, you're still going to get some crazy amounts of value if you're using it effectively. I just think Atlas is a very safe pick into just about anyone, unless as long as ESET and Nox are banned, or at least you're picking it late into the draft, you're going to have a pretty sick matchup in duo lane.
Well, it'll be back to at least the solo lane push for now. Kana actually going to get advantage in first wave, and Preds already up at the front line dealing with Coast and Calvin on this Atlas, able to dash through that wave very on early to make sure they can get some quick clear. And that'll be level 2 now for the dual lane of the Scorpions. I wonder if Preds will go for an immediate pull in with that second ability. He will. He'll not be able to pick up Coast, but he'll at least be able to get some good damage up on him with the dash combo after. But Preds gets rooted out, and he's the one in danger. 30% health on the Atlas for his aggression.
Yeah, remember when the meta a bit ago was to start Sprint and upgrade it to like Heavenly right away, and you would just gas pedal right at level 2 and try to find a kill? If that was an option, we may have seen a first blood there. Calvin will pop that horrific though, and it looks like we're having a brawl.
Be good. Preds is gonna go down in the turnaround. After utilizing that dash, Preds will be the first one to fall. The Highland Ravens on the board early, and both the junglers were making that rotation to try and get something started, but by the time they would have been there, it would have been too little, too late. Highland Ravens, first blood.
Yeah, I said it last time when the first kill the Ravens got was on Coast, and I'm going to say it again. This is who you want that kill to be on. This Chernobog is going to be able to be so mobile.
No.
And it looks like forgot about the silence field. Sarpe is going to lose that form, and the dash gets canceled out. That's so unfortunate because Baba Yaga's abilities are not telegraphed in the slightest.
Random.
You can't tell. They are exactly random. That is the word. Thank you. They are completely random. So got the O, the silence O in particular, and tried to dash away from that one and canceled out the turtle form. So very unfortunate for Sarpe, or just extremely well played by Angry. I'm not sure. Maybe he was saving that for that exact reason. Either way, going to result in 2 kills. So much more action, much earlier on for the Highland Ravens. Very different from game 1 in that sense, but still, it looks like they are going to be trying to use that lead, because now you got to kill on Coast, you got to kill on adapting. Where are they going to use that pressure?
I mean, that Baba Yaga can always be, it could be a blessing or a curse sometimes depending on what you get shape.
Oh, yeah.
And then secondary effect-wise, because it was, what, 4 different shapes that you can have, and I think 4 or 5 different passives that can come with each of those shapes. And Angry just so happened to get the best out of all of those. Got the oval and got the silence. So a great little boost there for Angry. Yeah, you can see you can either get protections, buff movement speed, lower movement speed, or get a silence out there. So 4 shapes, 4 passives. At, 16 different combinations you can get. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I always just call it 3 because the L can just be flipped either way. But
Well,
you're
it's
right.
2 different shapes.
No, you're definitely right.
They classify it as left corner and right corner, but I'm with you. It's just an L. It's an L and a backwards L.
Yeah, I remember I was playing a bit ago, and someone in chat said there's no reason to ever have the O, and then I missed the first tick. Hold that thought. Davies' dash gets canceled out here, and Pred still has the dash in, and it looks like Will be able to peel out for his Hunter in this lane. That could have been a second kill going the way of Coast, and you don't want first blood to the enemy Chernobog, but you definitely don't want 2 kills going to the enemy Chernobog as Calvin just jumps in and smacks him with a hammer. Either way, I missed the first O, and it came back around and hit with the second one, which is something that rarely happens, because usually once they juke that first hit, you're going to be just safe. But there's just so much randomness to that kid, and it can always come into play. You got to be watching out for that Baba Yaga.
Yeah, it's part of maybe why we didn't see. You know what? I respect the
I
intent.
do respect
I respect
it,
the
absolutely.
commitment. You got to respect the pitch. So for those who don't understand what Kana was trying to go for, it's a very, very tiny window where you use your second ability, that pick up the Earthbreaker. You grab it, and right before it hits them, you can blink away, and it will pull them that full distance back. So kind of trying to get the extended range on that pull and then push him under the tower. Respect the attempt, but just a little bit off the mark. Adapting. Trying to find something against Sarpe. Picarino uses that Celestial Flight to get some distance, but he didn't get as much as he had thought. Used the Dragon to push Adapting all the way back down the lane, and that will guarantee that Picarino finds a way out.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about with this Yu Huang. Even if you get forced into that Celestial Fight early, you still have the Dueling Dragons, and you can just say nope and just yeet that Nemesis the whole way down the lane, and no more aggression will be had. Sarpe got ulted a bit ago and still pretty weak, but it looks like the solo laners are rotating over. Banvich is going to be the first one to try and engage, but because Preds couldn't find that pull, is going back to the blue buff and saying, you know, we don't want to fight anymore. There's no reason to chase. I've got a lot more farm I would like to have, and there's no more kills being had in this mid lane.
And the unfortunate part about trying to get that pull with Atlas is it's a very long windup, and usually if it can get CC'd out once, that's going to be the end of the game for that pull. You're probably not going to find anybody on the second attempt there, and unfortunately for Preds, he does not. It's the Highland Ravens with their first 2 kills on the board, which came about 7 minutes faster than we saw the last game. That was over to the Aaru Scorpions instead. At least in these first 5 minutes, have about a 1K gold lead. Again, Picarino getting heavily poked out while trying to go for this red buff, but Preds was still holding on to his hog. I didn't even realize that he'd had that still.
Yeah, sometimes you just want to hold on to it just in case a moment like that. Usually, if you don't see it on the first purple buff, it's used on the second purple buff, but maybe had a feeling that red buff invade was coming and made sure to confirm that one for his mid laner. Probably pretty happy about that. I hate when my red buff gets invaded, because you know, right now as a mid laner building Warlock staff, Yu Huang cannot solo that buff. It just takes too long. You'd be there for 30 seconds, give or take. So especially if it gets invaded, you're like, man, I was waiting for some jungle help, and it got taken away because they got Mannequin Scepter and Bumba's Sphere and things like that. So great by Preds to confirm it. Picarino won't be picking that one up, though. Wants to go and get some stacks onto this Warlocks, as they're both stacking the Gauntlet of Thebes and the Warlocks respectively, as Calvin is just going for the Chronos Pendant. So it's 2 different support starts once again. Interestingly enough, a great interaction with this getting some cooldown on this Fafnir. If you don't have any cooldown, you actually can't get 2 leaps off in Dragon form. But with Chronos Pendant, a lot more stuns will be coming the way from Calvin, so maybe the Scorpion's got to watch out for that.
Hammer is good against Preds, who also eats one of the corner shots from Angry on the Baba Yaga. Both of the mid laners going for stacks, but Angry just naturally should be able to get more of them online faster. Picarino stunned out by Calvin. The root just off the mark because a transformation comes out of Calvin, but not much more to be fought over. Panvich is here, and it's 3 versus 1 if they can find it. Kana misses the pluck, but finds the push, a stun up on the wall. Panvich will eat the boulder, and so will Sarpei, who walk back in, eats the ultimate from adapting, but a big pickup finds 2, and an Eagles rally also finds 2 from Panvich. A pickup once again by Kana. It's a 3v3 bloodbath in the midst of the jungle, but it's Calvin who will go down first. Sarpei finding the kill.
Yeah, and it looks like the rest of the squad is rotating in. Picarino is here and has the Dueling Dragons available as Preds tries to find it, but Home Sweet Home will be enough to immune that pull. So the blue buff invade will go awry, and the Aaru Scorpions get credit for that kill. Pretty happy about that one. It looks like just a beautiful pull in, as well as another Eagles rally. Panvich has been so on point with these Bellona ults. All the kills that the Scorpions have gotten in this set, which hasn't been too many. We saw the double kill early on, and then another answer back kill in this game. Has been off the back of a pretty clutch ult from Panvich.
Coast will lackadaisically walk between 2 players, and now it's Preds the one in danger as he's dropped to about 10% health on the Atlas. Will have to use that charge to get himself back to safety. Picarino just charging up his ability in the middle of the lane under the tower to make sure he can clear out his wave. So the Aaru Scorpions trying to fight back at the very least. They've been able to mitigate some of that lead that the Highland Ravens had built to start things out, but not by much. You can still see the Ravens leading with about 1,000 gold, but only about 200 to 500 experience bouncing back and forth.
Yeah, it just depends on where you are and where the farm is. So still the lead going their way, but still that kill is going to be pretty massive, especially on Sarpei, who started that Mannequin Scepter, wanted to go for a more early-centric style of play with the Erlong Shen, trying to get active early, and falling early for the death is not going to be what you want on this Erlong, right? You want to be getting active as early as possible. Your build is that way for a reason, you know, because I think just Bumba's Hammer or Bumba's Spear, either one is just going to be so much better than the Mannequin upgrades. This is your time to get active, so I think getting that kill on Sarpei is going to go a long way here. Looking like Sarpei is trying to find Kana, and Kana notices that and isn't going to use the driving strike, not yet.
Still going to hold on to it.
Oh,
Pin
no.
is good, but 2 people walked in front of a
Adapting's
Hercules.
here.
Sarpei gets pulled back under the tower, and the shield from the turtle form is enough to keep him alive. The Eagles rally. Just a zone from Panvich, but he gets rooted out by Vaporous Coast. The pull off the mark, and Preds pushes against the wall. Not going to find a pickup this time around. Does manage to find it against Kana. The Dragons come out from Picarino, but Preds is caught in the middle of 4, and Preds will go down. I'm sorry, 5.
I'm amazed that that did not result in more action. I mean, that was a beautiful double pull in by Kana. I have no idea why the Scorpions both walked in front of a Hercules, like towards that tower. Great rotation in from adapting. Even Vaporous Coast flew in to try and confirm that kill on the Sarpei, but just didn't have the movement speed. I think teleported to the wrong target as well was the Chernobog. So back in duo lane already, not wanting to miss out on too many waves. The Pyromancer spawns in about 4 seconds, but the grouping's a little bit too little too late. They'll take the kill, they'll take the extra gold in pocket, and the Ravens are going to go back to the farm game.
Yeah, I mean, if there's 2 things in Smite that I've learned over my years of playing, number 1, you never fight the bug early. That was always referring to Arachne, by the way, since we do have multiple bugs.
I was thinking of Capri, so I was like, why?
No,
Okay,
not that bug.
makes sense.
The spider. Maybe don't fight the spider level 1, level 2. And also, don't stand between Hercules and a tower line. That's just a recipe for disaster. And so might this be for the Scorpions. The Highland Ravens start at the Pyromancer and take that one with no answer back from the Scorpions.
I was getting flashbacks for a second. Adapting was getting very low. Maybe if Panvich rotates over, we see another duo kill, or double kill at the Pyromancer, but that isn't going to be the case. And this time the Highland Ravens are going to be able to confirm that one for themselves. So it looks like Davey and Picarino are trying to invade a red buff here. They recognize there's a lot of pressure on the right side of the map and will steal that away. Preds picks it up. So expect a little bit more damage coming from this Atlas. Not much, because not much damage is built for the Atlas. If Calvin got it, we'd be seeing a fair bit of DPS coming their way. What'd you see? I didn't get to see.
I don't know. Preds is doing a lot of damage. He's sitting halfway up the chart at 3,700. I think like 45 is the highest. So I don't know. Preds, even with no damage built, is putting up some big numbers here.
I just meant the red buff scales off of power, and he doesn't have much built, so don't expect more damage numbers. He'll still be doing the same amount of damage he was doing, just a small tad bit more. And, you know, with the Gauntlet of Thieves into what I can only assume is a Sov or an Emperor's Armor, if you're fearing the worst, if you're fearing some tower dive coming the way of the Ravens, then, you know, it's not going to amplify the damage he was already doing.
We'll see if the Scorpions are able to make a bounce back here up against the Highland Ravens. 3 kills for the Ravens, and at least a Pyromancer to their name. The Scorpions have only been able to pick up the 1 kill so far, and it was on a Sarpei, who also was able to steal away a purple buff just now from the Highland Ravens. At least put a little bit of pressure onto Coast, adapting.
Getting chunked.
Taking a 1v1 up against Panvich, and, well, Panvich won't be able to at least stop the blue buff from being invaded by the Ravens, so another buff stolen away by the Chaos team, and a Gold Fury thwarted that the Scorpions were trying to start up.
Yeah, I didn't realize that adapting was just zoning for that buff, so I was like, is he trying to kill Panvich? Because there's no damage coming through. Surely this doesn't net anything either. That's just going to be an ult, because adapting wants that speed buff. Once Picarino came over, though, it might be a turn on to the Nemesis.
Dueling Dragons comes out, puts some damage up against adapting, but he's got Angry as backup. Panvich goes in, but misses the Eagles rally, and a push from Kana should spell the end of the fight for the Aaru Scorpions, and maybe a reinitiation instead for the Highland Ravens. Panvich all by himself and being bursted down by the firebolts coming from the mid lane, and it's Kana to put Panvich in the dirt.
Wow, I'm so shocked, because it looked like Coast was running away. When he teleported in with that ult, he was very low HP, but Davey was on the other side of the map, not too healthy, or was pretty healthy as well. So maybe Coast was just getting poked down, got caught out trying to ult in, and took a little bit of damage. Either way, great rotation in. This Chernobog has been so impactful as Calvin is going to try to steal away that red buff. As long as the jump comes up soon, should be fine, and will be able to leap out of trouble. Given the fact that Coast has been rotating away, though, Davey has been able to get a pretty big XP lead, and now Calvin's gone.
Oh, yeah, gone. Easily right there. Angry has to sit by and watch as his support falls down. Preds able to go back to base, and Sarpei already in position to start up these next mid camps. 2 kills for the Aaru Scorpions, both of them on their jungler, trying to make sure that Sarpei can get some kind of advantage. In game 1, Sarpei did build up a strong lead for the Aaru Scorpions, got a good lead over his opposition, adapting on the Fenrir in that instance, that sitting dead even right now up against adapting this time.
Yeah, the biggest thing you have to look out for is the 2-level lead in solo right now. Kana's doing very well in this Hercules, and the fact that this Chernobog keeps ulting away, keeps missing some waves, as Davey was able to just get some farm in that lane, and has actually a level down at the moment, so maybe missed a few waves as I was talking there, but will be able to use a little bit of XP to their side. And it looks like the Scorpions are not going to sit back any longer. They're going to pull this Gold Fury.
They'll start that up. Meanwhile, it's a little bit of a scuffle on the right side. Ultimate charged up by Preds. Do they have the burst to take it down afterwards? Yes, they do. The Aaru Scorpions confirm the Gold Fury, but Preds is the one on low HP bars and has to run. The firebolts from Angry are shredding him away alongside the autos coming from Vaporish Coast. 1 kill goes to the Highland Ravens, and maybe a second one as Picarino is surrounded. It's a double kill for Coast.
Yeah, Coast has a lot of kills already. 3-0 is this Chernobog, level 15. And there's no Pyromancer up just yet. I was thinking maybe the Ravens were rotating around trying to find as much as they can. Davey has the airstrike available here, so I'm not expecting to see too much 1v1 potential, but that purple buff certainly will be getting looked at by the Chernobog as we see a little bit of a 1v1 opportunity.
A little bit of an opportunity, but not one to be taken by the Highland Ravens. Maybe a purple buff instead, and a tier 1 in mid lane. Taking it less than 15 minutes into the game, the Highland Ravens, even after losing that objective, are still willing to take these fights up against the opposition. Purple buff stolen away by Coast and the Highland Ravens. Davey dashes in aggressively, but everybody on the Ravens had already left by that point. I'm sure Calvinson are going, guys, Jing Wei just dashed at me.
Yeah, and I think the rest of the squad knows, hey, I think that means everyone else is rotating, so we should probably try and get out here. Panvich is in the mid lane, so not clearing and right. Could be trying to rotate over to the fight that's not happening. There is nothing going on. There's no objective to fight over. Unless the Scorpions want to get really active at that tier 1 tower, they are going to go over to the Pyromancer, where Kana should be sniffing this out immediately, and it's going to be hard to do this objective with a Hercules here.
Kana has Boulder, has the pickup, has the push, misses the pickup, Doesn't get the push. The Scorpions get the Pyromancer. Can they get out of the fight is the question. Dragons just off the mark by Picarinos. That will be Pyromancer and no one going down for the Aaru Scorpions. That will at least keep them in the game.
Yeah, Davey got the ult from Angry and the Aegis, so that is a lot of survivability tools down for the Highland Ravens mid laner. If you can get Sarpei to the Baba Yaga, that would be some great value, but it looks like Panvich is going to be in some trouble here. Calvin's also here. Will they have enough damage to go for the dive? No. Will they have enough damage to go for the blue buff? They can try.
Definitely try so. 3 versus 4 on the right side of the map. Pred's trying to secure the blue buff, but cannot. Pickup is good onto Calvin, but that'll just throw the Dragon Man off to the side, and Calvin throwing some friendly laughs and taunts right back at him.
Oh,
but
it's not friendly.
Might not want to be so friendly, at least with Picarinu standing by.
Yeah, it's not friendly. This is very much, I'm taunting you because I stole that buff, and I'm trying to demoralize you and the rest of your team, as the Highland Ravens are just sort of walking around, gank squatting, trying to see what they can find. Oh, there's a Scorpion here. Yeah, we can do that. Unless Picarino tries to steal it away, we'll miss the damage and not going to be able to happen. Coast is standing at the tower line as well. Sarpei's rotating over them, maybe trying to find this Chernobog or at least force an ultimate out. Because that purple buff and the red buff once again spawning in. Remember, the Ravens got these last time.
Let's see if the Ravens can find anything here. At least not against Sarpei, maybe against Preds. The dash available for Preds and was trying to find a path out to where he didn't get interrupted. Kana finds the blink, finds the pull, finds the driving strike, and a pickup is good onto 2 and 2 others to stall. Eagles rally finds 4 in the fight. The Dragons find a couple as well. The Aaru Scorpions are doing everything they can to live through this fight, and live they have done so, and now pushing the Highland Ravens back.
I mean, Preds just took no damage there. I guess Angry's ult wasn't connecting because he started off the fight with about that much HP, and after a full Baba Yaga ult, still had that much HP. It just looked like the Ravens threw a lot of damage into nothing, and now we'll have to back off. I'm not to say the Scorpions didn't also drop a lot of ultimates, because they did. It's really just you got Davies Airstrike and Adapting's ult to be used at this Primal Fury fight if they are trying to squat up for it, but it looks like will be enough time for some of those cooldowns to come off cooldown. As I said cooldowns twice, don't know why. Davey could be getting looked at, but definitely stepped over a ward, and we'll give some taunts over to the king.
Yeah, Adapting will make his way back to base now and finish up his serrated edge, so a little bit of extra DPS now available to Adapting on the Nemesis. And these offerings, a lot of them have been going over to the Aaru Scorpions. Highland Ravens are at least answering back with a few of their own. That first Trebuchet of the game did go to the Scorpions, and the gold and XP at the very least still in favor of the Highland Ravens. 4,300 gold, 8,500 XP. That's a lot. I mean, we're 19 minutes in. Nobody's hit level 20, and being 9k XP up compared to only like 4,000 gold, Ravens have been finding some good farm on this map.
Yeah, and I think, again, the one shimmering ray of hope you have is this Jingwei. Davey is a level behind, doesn't have 3 kills to his name, but has a decent build. You got the Silver Branch, you have some crit chance. So playing through your ADC, as well as the fact that Picarino has that Soul Reaver and the Warlock size, there's a bit of percentage damage and HP steal. So I think your carries, if you are the Scorpions, still have the ability to output a decent bit of damage. But it's going to be hard to match the amount that the Highland Ravens have right now, and it looks like they will send that Trebuchet down the left side, recognize that maybe a Gold Fury fight is about to happen over this Primal Fury specifically, so wanting to put some pressure onto the tower, maybe just alleviate some of the stress that the Scorpions are going to be feeling pretty soon.
For now, it is a group of the Scorpions in the left jungle, at least by the red buff. Highland Ravens making their way over as well, Adapting towards the right side of the mid lane. Preds will find a pull back to Kana, not a full pick up though. And Kana will be able to dash his way out. Does get a bit of healing back thanks to that third ability. And once again going for that Shield of Regrowth, so extra movement speed for Kana anytime he does pop that heal. And going on the same build path too. I mean, this is the exact same build that Kana ran in game number 1. Make sure to run that again in game 2.
Yeah, and it looks like trying to get aggressive are the Scorpions here around this Primal Fury. Adapting's in right. The Nemesis is trying to get as much farm as possible, and once the Scorpions recognize that, they are going to go and pull this 5v4 with Trebuchet on their side.
Ult is available for Preds, and that's what he used to shred through a lot of the protections of that objective and the enemy once they walked in last time. But the Fury does get leashed by the Scorpions. Preds gets pulled back in, but has the dash to get out. The baseball boulder comes out from Kana, but doesn't find a whole lot. Panvich at half HP and an ult out of Preds. Will go back and clip only Calvin there. The beads from Panvich have been expended. Davey manages to get the flyaway with the agility after being picked up by Kana. The Highland Ravens have slowly poked the Scorpions out, and Calvin in that dragon form means that this Ravens team should be able to take away the Primal very quickly.
Oh yeah, quickly it goes, and quickly it will go down. The Highland Ravens are able to push that gold lead even more so. The Aaru Scorpions finally realizing maybe we can go for Pyromancer for free because of that, but they haven't started up in time, and it looks like Kana will be able to stand here and at least say it's not going to be for free. If you are going to go for it, it's going to be a toss-up. The Boulder will be back up shortly, trying to stall this out as much as possible. The Scorpions probably pretty happy to try and 50-50 it though.
Kana trying to stop this Pyromancer. Preds is standing in front, and Kana will just watch as it goes down, but maybe a reinitiation from the Ravens if they can get some bodies over here, but it's only Preds who's taking a heavy bit of poke. They'll grab the Pyromancer, their Scorpion, and the Aaru Scorpions will be able to make their way back and get some farm up.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a minute before a Fire Giant attempt will be going through. We saw the Ravens last time, you know, even when they got a free Fire Giant, the next time around when they were pulling, they weren't about to go for a 50-50. They weren't about to go for any sort of questionable Fire Giant calls. They want to bait this as much as possible and try to find a pick. Right now, Panvich could be in some trouble. As 4 strong are the Highland Ravens, but this Bellona has ultimate, has some juke shoes, and will be able to get away. The tier 2 tower, still way too tanky to try and burn through without your ADC or at least some minions. Back to the Fire Giant they go. But given the fact that Calvin is also backing and Coast, I don't think they're going to be pulling an objective just yet. Still just trying to get these items online. They had a massive XP lead we saw earlier, so expect to see these starter items getting upgraded pretty shortly, as Coast is the first one to do so.
Yeah, will be Coast hitting level 20 now, upgrading that starter. And the rest of the Ravens grouping up to the left side of the map, interestingly enough. They've got their Trebuchet online and might be looking to kind of force something on this left-hand side of the map. If the Scorpions can recognize this fast enough, maybe they can go for a Fire Giant pull, as Sarpé has got at least 2 players on this side of the map to deal with him. But none of the rest of the Scorpions are really doing anything. They're all sitting around mid lane.
Yeah, I think Kana is on a ward right now, and they recognize there is a little bit of presence at the Fire Giant still, and Sarpé got out, so you don't lose too much off of that. You really just lose both of the relics of your jungler, as you know they didn't really use too much to chase down. So definitely an opportunity to try and go for that pull. But Angry and Kana were still sitting around. You'd have to deal with a lot of annoyance from a very fast Hercules with the Shield of Regrowth. So not going to be able to pull that one. It's finally the Ravens will posture towards this objective. They've got the vision. They're missing a few ultimates, but I imagine they will start poking this one down to see if they can bait anyone from the Scorpions in.
Adapting and Coast both lacking in theirs as the team fight would break through, but Sarpé also missing an ultimate. Double pull from Pred, so it's going to put him low. The Dragons have been summoned, but not going to get a whole lot from Picarino. Coast at half HP and being slowly trickled down. So is Pred's HP taken away by Adapting, and Angry finds the last shot on the Panvich. Davey finds a triple knockup, but not much more beyond there. A stun from Calvin will get the airstrike out of the Hunter. The Aaru Scorpions with 2 down are on the run.
Yeah, and they still have that Draconic Transformation. The Coerce gets drops, and it looks like not going to go for the objective. The Scorpions are giving this up, though. They are running away. Adapting's in mid lane pushing, and they have a Trebuchet in left, so probably could have went for it, but safer to back up, get full health bars, and then go for it again. You still have enough time where Panvich is going to be dead. Obviously, Pred spawns in about 5 seconds. Given the positioning of the Scorpions, I think the Ravens are going to notice there's 3 people at that Trebuchet pretty shortly, and then we'll pull that Fire Giant indefinitely, and we'll be able to burn that one down with no real contention. I had to double check that Preds didn't have the ult available, because if his ult came through and stole it, as I said, there'd be no contention. I would be pretty upset. But no ult available for Preds either. Doesn't have any CDR in that build. And finally, the Ravens are able to get the first Fire Giant of this game. And it looks like they're just going for the tier 2 and right. They did just back up. Remember, they spent a lot of that gold. They got their HP back, so they're plenty healthy to go for these towers.
And they should know that at least Davey was on the left side of the map taking care of the Trebuchet and a wave. So now 4 strong of the Ravens will push up the tier 2 tower, just waiting for that final minion wave to get through so they can make sure it goes down a little bit easier. And the Highland Ravens with that Fire Giant have been able to net themselves about a 7,000 gold lead over the Aaru Scorpions. Hasn't reflected too hard in the build just yet, but they are still sitting on a few thousand gold in pocket for some of the members of the Ravens. Preds dashes forward against
if
Calvin.
Gets chased down for taunting, I'm going to laugh, but it looks like they're not able to catch him. Yeah, he just sat there taunting. Preds goes for the dash, forces the leap, and not going to have the chase down. Even if they did, very tanky right now is the Fafnir with a 3rd item Thebes, by the way. He started that Chronos Pendant, went for the Sov, and has 2 more stacked before that Thebes is going to be completed. As the Ravens finally grouping up, this time on the left side of the map, they already got that tier 2 on right. Probably going to grab the tier 2, the Primal Fury. There's a lot more gold for the Ravens to pick up wherever they want to, as we saw a couple more of those upgraded starters adapting, was able to get that Bumba Spear as well, so much more damage on the auto attacks of this jungler.
It seems that the Scorpions are just going to give up this tier 2 tower to the Highland Ravens. There's no minions here, so it'll take a little while to get the mid one down. Meanwhile, Adapting will group up by himself with the wave of minions.
Group up by himself.
Group up with the minions
There
on
you
the
go,
left
there you
side.
go.
I was trying to say we'll group up with the minions by himself on the left side. But now it'll be all 5 members. Never mind, Adapting's going to separate from the rest of the team and go on his own yet again, but this time to the mid lane. So they've done a lane swap. They both take a tower, and they decide to put the group with the minion wave all together on the left end of it. Aaru Scorpions in a 4 versus 4 at the left Scorpion, or at the left Phoenix. Scorpions left Phoenix, I should say. Good lord. I am losing it already, Trelly.
I can't wait. Hold that thought. It might look like Adapting is able to chase this one down, but has the beads and will be able to back up. The left side Phoenix drops. Sarpei gets the win there, and Coast is going to try to chase this one down.
Coast doesn't find the rooting, and Sarpei just gets the beads instead. Left side Phoenix is gone from the Aaru Scorpions, but they've got the man advantage and can maybe push up this mid lane of their own. Still 2 towers standing on the Ravens side of the map. A red buff invade taking a little while to go for the Highland Ravens. I don't even know if the Scorpions recognize that the Ravens are just chilling out in the jungle right now.
Yeah, they're trying to grab the Pyromancer. I don't think they... Even 4v4 with FG is going to be a tough call here from the Ravens, and they're not going to chase that one down too far. Just try to get as much gold as possible. I just can't wait until my next ranked game when they get mad at me and they say, how come you're playing by yourself? And I'm going to say, I'm grouped up with the minions. J-Mac told me it's okay. I'm grouped up with the minions. I'm not by myself. I got this wave with me, so I'm still playing with my team.
Well, there you go. I'm glad I gave you a good excuse to use in ranked whenever you're split pushing now.
Yep. I'm like, don't worry, guys. I'll group up with these guys. These guys are on my team, too. The minions are on your team. That's something you got to remember.
The minions will never fail you.
And they'll never let you down. They always, you know what?
These guys are loyal, man. They go into work knowing that they're going to die for some reason, and it's just they're like the clones in Star Wars. It's just a constant pour out. All right, send in the next brigade to go die to the Sith Lords.
Yeah, there's not too many things in this life.
The clones actually be to the Jedi. Never mind, I had it backwards. Again,
man, you're on point today.
I'm losing it today, man.
There's not too many things in life that are guaranteed. You got death, taxes, and the fact that a minion wave is going to spawn in every couple seconds no matter what. As long as you're sitting there watching, those minions will still come through. So you can always count on those guys.
Unless you turn those off in your custom game.
Oh man, you really just ruined my whole analogy, didn't you?
But you have to go out of your way in order to make sure that they don't spawn.
Yeah, so you wouldn't count on them if you knew you turned them down. As Kana will have to beat pretty early on this siege. And remember, that mid Phoenix is still standing tall. The Fire Giant did not net them anything, and it actually just fell off. So this will be just a regular push here from the Ravens. They don't have that buff, and it looks like because they don't have that buff, they will have to back up.
Panovich got pulled in by Kana, but not going to take the push. Instead, Kana used it and immediately started backing up himself, adapting in the mid lane once again by himself, grouping up with a wave to try and push up and see if they can get some pressure towards one of those Phoenixes. Fire Giant will come back up in about 30 or so seconds. And the Aaru Scorpions want to try and find a group up, maybe try and find a pick to slow down the Ravens. And slow down the Ravens they need to do, as the Ravens have been able to amass themselves an 8K gold lead. Adapting and Sarpei in the 1v1. Ult for no ult. Not going to be one out of Sarpei. He'll just be adapting using his to guarantee a red, but maybe he should use an ult because he can't get through the door because Vapor's Ghost stopped him in his tracks, and what a laugh to come from the Hunter.
He tried to blink.
Put the jungler down.
Okay, I was going to say, why did he think he could go through the wall? He tried to blink, but Coast was able to put him in combat, so he wasn't able to blink over, and unfortunately gets put down. I was going to say, last time Sarpei and adapting 1v1, you know, Sarpei got the better of that fight in the mid, but when you got a Chernobog that can fly in and help you during that 1v1, it's not a 1v1 anymore, and unfortunately for Sarpei will fall down, as it looks like this Fire Giant will be pulled here, and if they stall long enough, and it looks like they will, Enhanced Fire Giant will be coming their way. Preds can go for the steal with the ultimate, and I think that is what he's trying to do. He's on a ward though, so they should be able to wait that one out, and way too late.
Yeah, Pred's not going to find the timing on that ult. The Enhanced Fire Giant will go to the Highland Ravens. Scorpion's Hunter, though, Davey has been able to push up the minion wave and left, so quite some time before any real threat will be put back on the left Scorpion. It will respawn shortly.
You called it a Scorpion again.
I did call it a Scorpion. I keep doing that. I keep saying it. It's the Scorpions Phoenix. A 4-man Eagles rally from Panvitz will start out the fight for the Aaru Scorpions. Preds will pick up one, just adapting. And a lot of turn and burn right back on Panvitz. He'll get stunned out, and the firebolts, the pickup from Kana, the push from Kana is good to take him down. Davey has rejoined the fight. but it's too late for their solo laner.
Yeah, Sarpei's trying to wrap around here, but keeps getting spotted out by adapting. You already touched on it. There's going to be a little bit of time before those left side fire minions are able to push in, but Kana is not trying to wait for that and will blink in immediately.
Missed the pull, missed the push, but the rest of the follow-up damage is still there regardless. The Highland Ravens have found 2 in the fight. It's 35 seconds until Panvich is back up. Right side Phoenix is gone. Mid Phoenix will be a foregone conclusion, and the left one should go down just as swiftly. For the Highland Ravens, a 3 Phoenix sweep, 2 kills. Sarpei finds 2 with the Blink ultimate, but only is going to find beads on the tail end of it. Instead, it's going to be a boulder out from Kana, and the Highland Ravens will push into the throne room.
And it looks like the Titan is what they're going to be going for here. They have the pick opportunity.
Oh, it's
Picarito
just
Aegis
dead.
is down, and that's going to be the Titan's dead, and the Scorpions are dead.
Yeah, no, that is just game. I didn't think the Titan was going to go down that quickly to the Highland Ravens, but a 2-0 for the 1-1 EU-SCC team will now bump themselves up to a 2-1 record with that win. And just constant control on the map for the Ravens. A slow burn in game number 1, mostly just playing around the map over anything else, getting objectives, making sure to get their farm. This time, starting with kills early in the game, that first blood to Vaporish Coast, and immediately after, the Highland Ravens able to take game 2.
Yeah, we saw a little bit of a slow start from adapting, I think, on that Founder. Was able to be, very controlling with the Ragnarok, but wasn't finding too much damage. Second game, I think, looked a lot better. He's definitely getting into the flow of things and playing through the duo lane. Again, getting Coast a lead on that Chernobog. Anytime a 1v1 situation was happening, was able to fly in. Angry was consistently on point. Kana had the pulls. I mean, the whole squad as a whole. I mean, I might as well just throw Calvin in there. I highlighted everyone except for the support. That's on me. Also, just playing so well on this Fafnir, being super annoying with that Chronos pendant, taunting everyone after stealing the buffs away, things like that. So just looks super solid as a squad, and I think they're going to continue to improve.
I mean, the CDR early on helps Calvin get those cooldowns a little bit more often, helps him also hit a little bit harder since he's building a little bit of that power. A little bit slower out, like I said, this time around. Still similar, at least pacing in game number 1 as it was in game number 2 for the Highland Ravens, but First Blood coming 12 minutes faster this time around as Vaporish Coast was able to team up with Calvin and get that turnaround. And that horrific emblem, it's something that we talked about very early on, where Preds has that close cleanse, or has that slow cleanse. Good Lord. I have really lost it. We are only in the first set for us of the day, and we still got 2 more sets total to go. An entire week of esports action. I gotta pick it up here, man. I gotta pick it up.
Yeah, but it's still, the slow cleanse was there. All of those Scorpions couldn't survive. And the Phoenixes and the Scorpions, whichever one, either way. Just
both of them. Neither of them could.
Neither of them could survive. Even the actual Scorpions, not the Aaru Scorpions, were still getting invaded by the Ravens, and that just shows how much map presence they have. I brought it full circle. I made sure to tie that one in, and again, beautiful pulls in from Kana. Panvich was not able to get out. The Hercules, a pick that we haven't seen in quite some time in the solo lane meta, able to show us why Kana was putting so much presence on it.
Kana doing great work. A 2-0-6 for him, a 2-0-8 for Angry, and a 6-0-6 for Vaporish Coast. So once again,
Angry and Coast didn't die at all this set.
And neither
Kana, yeah.
Kana,
all
Angry,
three.
and Coast did not die at all over the course of over 60 minutes of gameplay. That's crazy. I say that, but we also got to remember that Erupt Crimson only died like 6 times in the entirety of Phase 1. But
that's not going undying. I'm sure plenty of sets he did go undying.
True.
But what we're talking about right now
is this set.
Is 0 death.
This 60,
the goose egg.
Yeah, this 60-plus minute of gameplay, not a single death for 3 players. Not just one, for 3 different players. Impressive. Out of the Highland Ravens, and maybe bringing Adapting onto the squad, at least a good boost for this team to get themselves set up for the remainder of Phase 2.
Yeah, and especially, I think the Scorpions still look pretty solid here. They were able to find some early success, some picks here and there. It's just the team fight as a whole, not being able to find too much aggression, and I think also waiting a little bit too long to get active, whereas, Davey on this Jingwei, you want that Jingwei to be waiting until late game, obviously, but still was able to rotate early on. Just not enough. I think the Ravens played super solid as a unit.
Highland Ravens able to bring it back together and find themselves some success to start their 3rd week of the EU-SCC out. And again, it's only the 3rd week of the EU-SCC, and that was only our 2nd set of the day. It will be our final one, at least for the EU, for whatever for what Europe is concerned over anything else. We had our first set that went the full distance. We have this set that only went 2, and we're going to take a look at the schedule to see exactly what you have left in store. I mean, we've already seen 4 of the 6 teams that have duked it out for the European region. The last 2 will be Hex Mambo and Styx Ferryman. That will take place on June 25th, just a couple of days from now, to start out the day, 11 a.m. So make sure that you tune in for that to see
Saturday.
how Hex Mambo and Styx Ferryman are able to duke out between each other, because even the Ferrymen have been able to find some success so far in this phase. Between the Ferrymen and the Scorpions, we're having a bit of a rough start, at least in phase number 1, have now been able to at least get a little bit of action going between them.
Yeah, we've been talking a lot when we're looking at the standings, how flip-flopped everything has been, where, the Scorpions didn't have the greatest week 1, or phase 1 rather. The Hex Mambo, again, didn't have the greatest phase 1 early on, but they really started finding their bearings as the set continued, as that phase continued, and then looking into Masters, I think they really found their feet underneath them, we'll say, the way that they wanted to play this style of picks and things like that. So definitely an interesting one here in the EUSCC. Just, you got to keep your eyes on all these teams.
Yeah, Hex Mambo able to find their strides in the EUSCC, but as I said, that's only 2 of the 4 sets that we have available to you guys today. EU is done. We're going to be moving over to North America, and that starts up right after this break.